I think that people should take their health very seriously, especially in the inner cities. There's not enough emphasis put on it, and unfortunately, that is, the place where we need it the most. Is like where our families are suffering from high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, all these things, and the root of all disease is food. There's definitely not enough education on it that's necessary, and that's part of like putting these programs together. You want to like talk to these kids about nutrition and about superfoods and things that they don't do the research on, and all they have access to is the cheap fast foods, and it becomes a thing about economics, right? So if they can't afford certain foods, one thing that definitely needs to change is the prices of these foods, right? So kids, they gonna go to, I don't like saying these chain companies, but the fast food restaurants, they go to them because they're selling food for $1. It's not food, it's poison. But they all work together, like all these companies work together. There's no reason why with all this like money and all these billions of dollars that they make that they can't put programs together to help, feed these kids the right food and take this poison out of the neighborhoods. So through education, we have to like show them a way. There has to be like people actually talking about it, showing them the importance of exercise, having them try certain foods out. Because food is a drug, so if they're used to a certain taste, of course, if you introduce something to them the first time, they're not gonna like it because it doesn't have as much sugar or as much salt or fat as what they're used to. But little by little is a process, right? That's why it's a long-term situation. It's not something that's a pop-up and you get somebody to come in and talk about it and they out of here and that's it, or a 3-week program or whatever. It has to be a long-term thing that they see this thing is really in the neighborhoods. In my mind, it's simple. But I guess it's not that simple. But if I had access, which is what I'm working on, is with different people that I know that have resources, and I was able to put a healthy spot or a program into each of these neighborhoods where they can actually have access to these different foods and try these different foods and realize that they give them power and the other foods actually put them to sleep and make them sick. They need to see these examples and they need to see more of these examples. If I have the ability to do that, that's what I would do. As much as I can stretch myself and talk to people about it, that's what I'm always gonna do. But if they had these programs implemented to show them what this food is doing to them, what it's doing to generations, and why they're put into place, and how all these companies are working together to not want you to eat healthy, to not want you to heal yourself with foods. It's all education. Like it will wake people up to see what's really going on. This thing, you will wake up with so much more energy if you didn't eat that junk. You will want to do stuff. You will feel like more active. If you will feel like you want to be more productive. And that's what food does to you. You don't need so much of it. This country is built on its overconsumption. So you're eating all this crazy fast food and you need to eat so much of it because it has so little nutrition. Where here, you just need a little bit of it, but it has so much nutrition. It's so nutrient dense that it's gonna give you energy for the rest of the day. But you think that because you're eating so little bit that you might get sick, or, of course, your family, that's what they're thinking. They're like, ay, Dios mío, mijo, tú no estás comiendo, that's all you eating, you're gonna get sick. But you gotta teach them. You can't get mad at them, you gotta teach them, like, no, look, this is, read, this is what this has or whatever. I don't need so much of that. That's junk food, I don't need that. So it's all education. It's just like breaking out of that thought process that's been instilled in us for years, and I think that this generation is going to be able to do that, because we have a lot of access, so it's just, encouraging people to find out about how they could change their eating habits. And it's more about empowering ourselves and not being, hijacked by these companies and controlled by these companies. What folks might not know about me is that I was an obese kid. I used to love junk food and fast food and eating all that stuff. But upon myself, I learned that that's not the right way to go. I'm going to end up becoming very sick. You know, I enjoyed eating all that stuff and you know, visiting all those chains, those fast food chains, which I don't visit anymore, and I'm totally against. And my whole thing is trying to find foods to heal us and get away from those foods that are making us sick. Seeing people that I knew around me, and yeah, family members as well, that were suffering from certain diseases, and on my own, I started doing research and started like reading different things and articles and stuff, and just figuring out that a lot of the stuff that's happening is due to what they're eating and their lack of an active lifestyle. So I started taking it upon myself to do research and talk to certain people that were in the fitness world, and started getting advice from them, and then kind of just like implementing it on my own and trying things out. And I became my own guinea pig to try to like see what works for me, what doesn't work for me. And I'm still like constantly like trying different things out. Like, for example, tomorrow I'm gonna start trying to see what happens when I don't eat sugar, like refined sugars or any added sugars, and see what happens with that. The next level of that is like everything that has sugar I need to eliminate, which is going to be very difficult. But it's just trying things out, because this is your body, so you should be able to see what works for you and how these things are going to benefit you. Because I have relatives that I try to tell, like, yo, you shouldn't eat that, or you shouldn't. They don't listen, and I get mad sometimes, and I now kind of like let them be. But I get mad and upset because I'm passionate about it, and I know that they need to hear this. But maybe it's better if I'm an example to them. So I become that guinea pig, and I try things out, and then they ask me, how did that work for you, whatever, and then I'm able to give them that information, in addition to giving them some literature to read. But I can say, I did it for a month, this is what happened, this is how I felt, maybe you should try it. I'm way more focused when I do these things. I do intermittent fasting, I do a lot of stuff that people might think is crazy and bizarre, but it works. What I got next, I got a lot going on. Like, I do a one-man show that I travel with. I go to different penitentiaries, different high schools, colleges around the country. You know, I travel with Master Ace. I travel with EMC as a music director. I'm going around with the different running organizations. I'm an ambassador of running. Basically, what I do is, like, I go to the different countries, different states, different cities, and meet with these groups. And I try to, like, consult them on how they can include the community and how we can use our resources together so that we can do long-term projects within the community to inspire people to get out, get some movement going, and also to implement programs so that kids can have an outlet where they can do some art, they can do some health and fitness awareness, learn about nutrition, things like that. So the movement is called Bridge the Gap. I'm part of a running crew called the Bridge Runners. We started 15 years ago. Next year is going to be our 15-year anniversary. We started 14 years ago in New York City in the Lower East Side. And this is basically bringing communities together through running as the foundation. But we use that just to connect people that normally wouldn't be interacting with one another. So we call it Bridge the Gap, because Bridge the Gap is like making a connection where there's a huge difference. And that's like what we do. Running is the foundation of that. And we're able to connect people from all walks of life, whatever religion they are, whatever color they are, it doesn't matter, whatever career path they've chosen, is getting them in the same group together to enjoy social running. And then from there, you build. There's people that, you know, get married because they met during a bridge run or whatever. And it's a worldwide movement now that we use basically to connect with different countries. And Serbia has the event that I went to is basically Croatia and Serbia, who are two countries that basically, you know, people don't like each other. They've been at war. It was the former Yugoslavia with a bunch of other countries. This movement has allowed these two countries to get together via the spirit of running, and they were able to use that to connect. And you have like people out there that are crying, seeing how these young people are able to build and connect, and they bring hope back to the community. And it's via the running. The concept basically came from just wanting to do something that we felt that we were a part of, and we needed to create our own thing. So think about like hip hop when, you know, you had the gangs at war with each other, and then they later on traded their leather vests for Adidas tracksuits and started breakdancing and the battling, and then they stopped their killing. So we created this thing where we were like, you know what? We need to do something that we can create that's going to bring people together, but at the same time, it's not going to be hijacked by any like corporations or any brands or anything. So the idea was always like, we want to do something that we feel like we're included. It's all inclusive. There's a lot of these companies that have races that go on, but somehow we never felt like we belong in that lane. So we said, let's just be ourselves. I started an exercise program in the park on the Lower East Side. I used to do it weekly, invite people to come down. Mike Sace was the founder of Bridge Runners, started his bridge run, weekly bridge run, and he used to come to the exercises that we used to do, and we pretty much just like merged together, and from there just like flourished. You know, it just became like this thing where, oh, these guys, they're like weird, they're crazy, they're running on the streets, they're running on the bridges, but it seems cool. And then we're connected with a bunch of dudes that are artists and DJs, and so after our runs, we would go to either art galleries or we would go to like parties where the DJs were DJing or performances, and we would just like do cool stuff. And it was just like something to do that it was social. It was not about me. It was about a collective, and then at the same time, you get some culture. So we call it roots and culture, because you're getting some views of the city, and then at the same time, we hitting you with some culture.